Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Daisy from Made with Love by Daisy. In today's tutorial, I will be showing you how to make this cute coffee cup keychain. To make this, you'll need the following materials. I'm using 4-ply acrylic yarn. You will need one color for the coffee and the color that you want your mug to be, and some scrap yarn, white, for the cream. You will also need a keychain ring, pliers to attach that, a pair of scissors, and a yarn needle. You also need doll stuffing or synthetic fiber fill. So that's about it. Let's get started. This is a no-sew pattern, so everything is joined as you go. I'll be beginning with the coffee section. And yes, I completely forgot to mention the crochet hook. I'm using a 3mm crochet hook. So begin with a magic ring. So in the magic ring, make 8 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can close the magic ring now. And slip stitch into the very first stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8. Just count your stitches to make sure you are slip stitching into the very first stitch. For the second row, we'll be making an SE increase in every stitch. So chain 1 and make 2 single crochet in each stitch. 1, 2, go ahead and slip stitch into the first single crochet we made in this row. So at the end of the second row you should have 16 stitches. So for the third row, chain 1, and in this row we'll be making an increase in every alternate stitch. So 1 single crochet, increase in the next one, 1, increase, so that is 8 into 3, 24 stitches. So at the end of row 3 you should have 24 stitches. So this is our last row, and I am not going to slip stitch. I'm going to use the invisible join method for the last row so that we will have a neat finishing. So in case you don't know how to do that, so pull out your tail and so here is the last stitch that I made. This is the first chain one, the first single crochet, and this is the second stitch. We're going to insert the needle on into the second stitch. And pull that tail through. I'm just gonna loosen it a little bit so that you can see where I'm inserting the needle next. Now go into the top of the last stitch we just made. So here are the two loops of the front loop and the back loop. I'm gonna insert my needle into that. So go right into that stitch. And pull the yarn through. So now you can just tighten that loop a little bit. So what this does is it replaces the loop on top of the first single crochet. So after you do this and count, you should still have 24 loops, but you do not have a visible slip stitch anywhere, so it gives a very neat finish, which is why I like it. So I'm just going to pull this tighter until this loop is the same size as the other stitches, and then you can just weave in that tail, and I'm just going to knot it along with the tail from the magic needle. So it's not necessary, but if the tail bothers you, you can go ahead and trim it. Now, so next we will be making this embroidery for the coffee on this. So I'm gonna get some scrap yarn. Very little is enough. I think I use lesser than 1.5 feet. 12 to 18 inches long. I think that's how long this piece of scrap yarn is. So take your scrap yarn, these two are just little lacy daisy stitches. So insert your needle from the bottom up, and I want to have 3 stitches between the top of the first stitches, so I want my first lazy daisy to end here. I'm just eyeballing it. There really is no right and wrong for this. And tighten that stitch. I'm very sorry, I just realized that I did that stitch really fast. I will consciously make the second one a lot more slower. So come back up through the same place, and I want to leave 1, 2, 3 stitches gap, so I want the next one to come out here. So insert your hook into the same stitch and bring the needle out where you want your lazy daisy stitch to sit, and then tighten this. And pass your needle back through the same stitch that we came out of. Now for the bigger ones, I'm gonna just center it out and just eyeball it. So I want this stitch, the second or the bigger ones, to start here. And I think, yeah, that's about center. And I would like the stitch to come all the way here till this. So I'm just gonna insert my needle to this and come out through this stitch. Wrap the yarn around the needle and pull through. This is just a basic chain stitch. Now I'm going to just pull it tight and go back into the same stitch. I'm just going to tighten it a bit more before I secure that stitch. Now I'm going to make one more long stitch over it, so I'm bringing the needle back into up through the same place. And just this is just a long stitch. I think it's called a long stitch, or it's not a running stitch, it's just the long stitch. So I'm just going straight in. This is not a lazy daisy stitch, and I'm gonna repeat the same thing for this. So I want the stitch to come all the way here. So I'm just gonna bring my needle out of here, wrap my yarn around it, So if you want these stitches to look fatter, you can just pass your yarn over it one more time. I'm gonna trim the excess yarn. So yeah, I used less than 6 inches of yarn. That's, I think, 1 feet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and secure the tails with a knot. So now the coffee portion is done, and we can start the cup next. So let me put all this aside. Let's start making the cup. To make the cup, start with a magic ring. Chain 1 and make 6 single crochet into the magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. let's close the magic ring. So pull on the tail first. One of the loops should get smaller, and grab the loop that is getting smaller and pull it. Make sure you're pulling it in the right angle. So if you're pulling it correctly, the other loop should become smaller. If you're pulling it wrong, you'll know it, because if the tail is getting shorter, then you're pulling it in the wrong side. So pull it so that the other loop is getting smaller. And once that loop is completely closed, you can close this loop by pulling on the tail. So I'm going to slip stitch into this first single crochet. So on row 2, chain 1 and make an increase in every stitch. 1, 2, so this is the slip stitch we made at the end of row 1. You do not want to make a stitch in that. So skip that slip stitch and slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet we made in row 2. So at the end of row 2, you should be having 12 single crochet. For row 3, chain 1, and we're going to make an increase in every alternate stitch. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch, increase in the second stitch, 1, increase, we're going to skip this slip stitch and slip stitch into the first single crochet we made in this row. At the end of row 3, you should be having 3 into 6, 18 stitches. In this row, we'll be making an increase in the first stitch and 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, increase, and 1 and 2. So skip the slip stitch and make a slip stitch into the top of the first stitch we made in this row. At the end of row 4, you should have 24 stitches. So that's 6 into 4. Yes, 6 into 4, 24 stitches. So this is the last row for the base. So we're done with the base of the cup. And we're going to make this ridge. We're going to do that by making 1 round of back post single crochet. So chain 1. To do that, you would normally insert your hook into the front, but we're going to insert it from the back. So go into the back of the first stitch, come from the back and into the front of the next stitch, so that you are working around the post of the stitch. So it will make these stitches stand perpendicular like this. Let me show you again very slowly. it's very easy to accidentally skip or make an increase, so please count your stitches. You can do just a back loop single crochet row if you would prefer that, but I do not really like the look of that stitch, as in it does not give the sharp clean edge that the back post stitch gives. So this gives a very clear, well defined base. So the back loop single crochet does not give the effect that I want the cup to have. It just makes the base stick out. It looks very poofy. So yeah, but if you don't mind that, you can go ahead and use the back loop, but personally I prefer this. So I'm just going to count my stitches to make sure I didn't accidentally make an extra stitch. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 20 24. Yes. And I'm gonna slip stitch into the first stitch of this row. I feel it's very loose, so I'm just gonna tighten that loop and slip stitch again. That's better. The next seven rows are exactly the same. You just need to chain one, make one stitch in each stitch, and then slip stitch into the first stitch. It's just one stitch in each row. So I'm going to pause the video now. Go ahead, finish the next 7 rows, and then I will come back and show you how to finish the cup. I've finished the next 7 rows. So this is the row where we did the back post single crochet, and after that I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7 rows. So now we will be making the handle for the cup. Chain 7 2 3 4 5 6 7 and invert the cup, hold it upside down, and I'm going to make a slip stitch into this stitch. So this is the first row after the back post stitches. So I'm going to insert my hook in, bring it out like that, make a slip stitch, turn your work, and now I'm going to make 12 single crochet into this loop that we've just made. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm just going to adjust the stitches. 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So just adjust the stitches so that they're not gathered in one place. And the next row we're making will be the last row, and we will be attaching the coffee to the cup. So we don't have to make a chain one, because since we did the handle, the hook is already at the height of one single crochet. So go into the first stitch and also one of the stitches into the coffee. So I like to have my coffee facing like this, so you can place it however you like it. So with your hook inserted into both loops of both the cup and the coffee, go ahead and make a single crochet and make one single crochet into each stitch. Make sure that all your tails are inside when you're doing this. So I'm almost at the halfway mark. So at this point you want to stuff the cup. So I stuff it very lightly. Try not to overstuff the cup, because if you overstuff it, then the base of the cup will bulge out and look weird. So I'm just stuffing it very lightly, just the minimum required. And continue working. Every now and then just keep checking to make sure you're not accidentally increasing or decreasing on the coffee, as in make sure you're not skipping any stitches here and there. It can get a little confusing when you're working on these two pieces together. And also take care to make sure you don't pull the stuffing out. So this is the last stitch. Can cut the yarn. And again, I'm going to use the invisible join method. So to do that, make sure your yarn tail is over the handle. And I'm going to go into the first stitch we made. This is the first stitch we made in this row. So this is with the coffee and the cup together. The previous stitch is from the handle. So go into the first stitch of this row and then go back into the last stitch of this row. And I'm just gonna tighten this loop. And there's your coffee cup, it's ready. So let me just weave in the tail. Just go right to the bottom. and I loop it around a few stitches. So there it is. Let's finish the keychain by adding the ring. So this key ring that I have, it comes with the ring and the chain separately and a jump ring separately, which is why I need the pliers to open and close them, because these jump rings are quite huge. So add the handle and then add the keychain and close it. Just make sure that it's secure. Okay. And there you go. Your coffee keychain is done. So that brings us to the end of this video. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I really love this pattern because it's a no-sew pattern. It's a great pattern to stock up for markets as it works up really quickly. It uses very little yarn, so it's a great project to use up your scrap yarn as well. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel to get notifications about more patterns. If you make this keychain, share your pics with me on Instagram by tagging me in your post. You can find the link in the description. So that's it for today. Until next time, happy hooking!